जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा श्रील प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा श्रील प्रभुपदा जय गुरुदेवा 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 किब जयो जयो गौरचंदेर आरती के शोभा किब जयो जयो गौरचंदेर आरती के शोभा गौरचंदेर आरती के शोभा जानावी तातावाने जग मान लो किब दाखी नैनीताय चान बामे गदाधारा किब दाखी नैनीताय चान बामे गदाधारा निकाते अद्वैदा श्रीनी वास छत्रधारा किब बोशी याचे गौराचान रत्न सिंहासने किब बोशी याचे गौराचान रत्न सिंहासने याचे गौराचान रत्न सिंहासने आरती कोरे न ब्रह्मा आदि देवगाने किब नर हरि आदि कोरी चामर दुलाया आदि कोरी चामर दुलाया किब नर हरि आदि कोरी चामर दुलाया आदि कोरी चामर दुलाया संजया मुकुंद बाशु घोष आदि गाया संजया मुकुंद बाशु घोष आदि गाया संजया मुकुंद किब शंका बाजे घंटा बाजे बाजे करताला किब शंका बाजे घंटा बाजे बाजे करताला बाजे घंटा बाजे बाजे करताला माधुर मृदंगा बाजे परम रसाला शंका बाजे घंटा बाजे माधुर 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 बाजे ओ शंका बाजे घंटा बाजे माधुर 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 बाजे ओ शंका बाजे घंटा बाजे माधुर 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 बाजे माधुर 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 बाजे माधुर 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 बाजे शंख बाजे घंटा बाजे माधुर 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 बाजे माधुर 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 बाजे बोल माधुर 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 बाजे शंख बाजे घंटा बाजे माधुर 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 बाजे होय माधुर 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 बाजे माधुर 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 बाजे गौरंगेरारतिक शोभा जग जन मान लोभा जग जन मान लोभा जग जन मान लोभा ओ गौरंगेरारतिक शोभा जग जन मान लोभा ओ गौरानिताय 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 जय गौरानिताय गौरा हो जय गौरा चंदे जय गौरा चंदे जय गौरा चंदे जय गौरा चंदे कि बहु कोटि चंद्रजिनी वदन उज्ज्वला 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 गला देसे बनमाला कोरे जलमाला गला देसे बनमाला कोरे जलमाला किब शिवा सुख नारदा प्रेमे गदा 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 भक्ति विनोदा देखे गोरा रसंपादा 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 कि बजयो जयो गोरा चंदे आरतिक शोभा जानावी तातवाने जग मन लोभाना जानावी तातवाने जग मन लोभा जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत चंद्रा जय गौर भक्त वृंद जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत चंद्रा जय गौर भक्त वृंद जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत चंद्रा जय गौर भक्त वृंद जय नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा ओ हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे बोलो बोलो ओ हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा ओ हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा हरे 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 राम हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 जय राधा नील माधव श्री राधे जय राधा नील माधव श्री राधे ओ जय राधे जय राधे जय राधे जय श्री राधे राधे जय राधे जय राधे जय श्री राधे निताय गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौरा हरि बोल बोल निताय गौरा हरि जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव Everyone bow down please. Jaya Om Vishnupada Parahams Parivgracharya Ashtatashta Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada ki Jaya Om Vishnupada Parahams Parivgracharya Ashtatashta Shri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada ki Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki Namacharya Haridas Thakur ki प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद जय अद्वैता गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोपा गोपीनाथ श्यामा कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की वृंदावन धाम की मथुरा धाम की नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की गंगा माई की यमुना माई की तुलसी देवी की भक्ति देवी की सामवेद भक्त वृंद की गौर प्रेमानंदे ऑल ग्लोरीज टू द असेंबल्ड डिवोटीज ऑल ग्लोरीज टू द असेंबल्ड डिवोटीज ऑल ग्लोरीज टू द असेंबल्ड डिवोटीज ऑल ग्लोरीज टू श्री गुरु एंड गौरंगा शिला प्रभुपाद की जय नमो विष्णुपदा श्रीमती भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी के नाम नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरव नमस्ते नरसिंहाय ito narasimha parato narasimha ito narasimha parato narasimha yato yato yami tato narasimha yato yato yami tato narasimha mahir narasimha hridaye narasimha mahir narasimha hridaye narasimha narasimha madim charanam prapade narasimha madim
शरणं प्रपदे
तव करकमलवरेणकाम् अद्भुतशृङ्गां दलिता हिरण्यकशिपो तनुभृङ्गाम् केशवदिता नरहरिरूपा च जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे
करकमलवरेणकाम् अद्भुतशृङ्गम् ता हिरण्यकशिपु तनुभृङ्गम् शवदिता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे
केशवदिता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे
शवदिता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे
जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव
जय नरसिंहदेव नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंह
जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव
जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव
जय प्रहलाद महाराज प्रहलाद महाराज प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज
जय प्रहलाद महाराज प्रहलाद महाराज प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज
जय प्रभुपदा 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 जय प्रभुपदा
प्रभुपदा प्रभुपदा प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा
जय गुरुदेवा 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 जय गुरुदेवा
जय गुरुदेवा गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा
नित्य गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल नित्य गौर हरि बोल
नित्य गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल नित्य गौर हरि बोल
नित्य गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल नित्य गौर हरि बोल
नित्य गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल नित्य गौर हरि बोल
नरसिम्हा भगवान की प्रहलाद महाराज की
Do some kirtan while we are waiting for Maharaj. Hare Krishna, everyone. So please stay back for the book launch ceremony. Hare Krishna. Please stay back for the book launch ceremony. His Holiness Harivilas Maharaj is going to sign the books he has authored. So please stay back for the book launch ceremony. Everyone will get their own personal copy signed by His Holiness Harivilas Maharaj. रख दे बेटा टेक द हारमोनियम Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Ram राम राम हरे हरे कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 रामा हरे रामा राम राम हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा
कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 रामा हरे रामा राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा हरे रामा राम राम हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम हरे राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा हरे रामा राम राम हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा
हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा
हरे राम
राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा हरे रामा राम राम हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे
हरे हरे रामा
हरे राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा हरे रामा राम राम हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे हरे बोलो बोलो
हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे
हरे रामा राम राम
हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Rama
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare
Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram Ram Hare
Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Maharaj has written a beautiful book defending Prabhupada's words. He's here. He's signing a copy of the book, so you can pay a small donation and get a copy personally signed by Maharaj. So this is a book that is very significant in today's world, wherein the importance of preserving the authority of the acharyas is very, very significant. So this book, Maharaj will speak also about this. So in the very short while, but in the meanwhile, we recommend that all of you can go in line. Give a small donation. We recommend $4 donation for this book, and then get a copy, and then get it signed by Maharaj in the meanwhile. Thank you.
जय राधा नील माधव श्री राधे.
Jaya Radha Nila Madhav Radha Nila Madhav Shri Radhe.
जय राधा नील माधव श्री राधे.
Jaya Radha Nila Madhav Radha Nila Madhav Shri Radhe.
जय जय राम कृष्ण हरि, 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 जय जय राम कृष्ण हरि,
Jai Jai Ram Krishna Hari.
जय जय राम कृष्ण हरि,
Jai Jai Ram Krishna Hari.
जय जय राम कृष्ण हरि,
Jai Jai Ram Krishna Hari.
जय जय राम कृष्ण हरि,
Jai Jai Ram Krishna Hari.
जय जय राम कृष्ण हरि,
Jai Jai Ram Krishna Hari.
जय जय राम कृष्ण हरि,
Jai Jai Ram Krishna Hari.
जय जय राम कृष्ण हरि,
Jai Jai Ram Krishna Hari.
जय जय राम कृष्ण हरि,
Jai Jai Ram Krishna Hari.
जय जय राम कृष्ण हरि,
Jai Jai Ram Krishna Hari.
जय जय राम कृष्ण हरि, जय जय राम कृष्ण हरि,
Jai Jai Ram Krishna Hari.
जय जय राम कृष्ण हरि, 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 जय जय पांडुरंग हरि, जय जय राम कृष्ण हरि, जय पांडुरंग हरि, जय जय राम कृष्ण हरि, जय जय पांडुरंग हरि, जय जय राम कृष्ण हरि, जय जय पांडुरंग हरि, जय जय राम कृष्ण हरि, जय जय पांडुरंग हरि, जय जय राम कृष्ण हरि, जय जय पांडुरंग हरि, जय जय राम कृष्ण 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 हरि,
Jai Jai Ram Krishna Hari.
जय जय राम कृष्ण हरि,
Jai Jai Ram Krishna Hari.
जय जय राम कृष्ण हरि,
Jai Jai Ram Krishna Hari.
जय जय राम कृष्ण हरि,
Jai Jai Ram Krishna Hari.
जय जय राम कृष्ण हरि,
Jai Jai Ram Krishna Hari.
जय जय राम कृष्ण हरि,
Jai Jai Ram Krishna Hari.
जय जय राम कृष्ण हरि,
Jai Jai Ram Krishna Hari.
जय जय राम कृष्ण हरि,
Jai Jai Ram Krishna Hari.
ओ जय जय राम कृष्ण हरि, 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 जय जय राम कृष्ण, जय जय राम कृष्ण हरि, 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 जय जय राम कृष्ण, जय जय राम कृष्ण हरि, 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 जय जय कृष्ण हरि, जय जय राम कृष्ण हरि, जय जय राम कृष्ण हरि, जय जय राम कृष्ण, जय जय राम कृष्ण हरि 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 निताय गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौरा हरि बोल
निताय गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौरा हरि बोल
निताय गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौरा हरि बोल
निताय गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौरा हरि बोल
जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद
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 जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा
जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा
ओ जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा
जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा
ओ जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा
जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा
ओ जय प्रभुपदा श्रीला प्रभुपदा
जय प्रभुपदा श्री प्रभुपदा
ओ जय प्रभुपदा श्रीला प्रभुपदा
जय प्रभुपदा श्री प्रभुपदा
जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव
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 निताय गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौरा हरि बोल
निताय गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौरा हरि बोल
निताय गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौरा हरि बोल
निताय गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौरा हरि बोल
हरिहराय नमः कृष्ण यादवाय नमः यादवाय माधवाय केशवाय नमः
हरिहराय नमः कृष्ण यादवाय नमः यादवाय माधवाय केशवाय नमः
हरिहराय नमः कृष्ण यादवाय नमः यादवाय माधवाय केशवाय नमः
हरिहराय नमः कृष्ण यादवाय नमः यादवाय माधवाय केशवाय नमः
हरिहराय नमः कृष्ण यादवाय नमः यादवाय माधवाय केशवाय नमः
हरिहराय नमः कृष्ण यादवाय नमः यादवाय माधवाय केशवाय नमः
केशवाय नमः केशवाय नमः
केशवाय नमः केशवाय नमः
केशवाय नमः केशवाय नमः
नमः केशवाय नमः
यादवाय माधवाय केशवाय नमः
यादवाय माधवाय केशवाय नमः
गोपाल गोविंद राम श्री मधुसूदना
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 गिरिधरी गोपीनाथ मदन मोहन
गिरिधारी गोपीनाथ मदन मोहन
गिरिधरि गोपीनाथ मदन मोहन
गिरिधारी गोपीनाथ मदन मोहन
मदन मोहन 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 मदन मोहन
मदन मोहन
मदन मोहन मदन मोहन
गिरिधरि गोपीनाथ मदन मोहन
गिरिधारी गोपीनाथ मदन मोहन
श्री चैतन्य नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत सीता
चैतन्य नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत सीता
हरि गुरु वैष्णव भगवत गीता
हरि गुरु वैष्णव भगवत गीता
भगवत गीता भगवत गीता
भगवत गीता भगवत गीता
भगवत गीता भगवत गीता
भगवत गीता भगवत गीता
हरि गुरु वैष्णव भगवत गीता
हरि गुरु वैष्णव भगवत गीता
श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथा
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 ओ श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथा
श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथा
श्री जीवा गोपाल भट्ट दास रघुनाथा
श्री जीव गोपाल भट्ट दास रघुनाथा
दास रघुनाथा दास रघुनाथा
दास रघुनाथा दास रघुनाथा
दास रघुनाथा दास रघुनाथा
दास रघुनाथा दास रघुनाथा
दास रघुनाथ दास रघुनाथा
दास रघुनाथा दास रघुनाथा
ओ दास रघुनाथा दास रघुनाथा
दास रघुनाथा दास रघुनाथा
श्री जीवा गोपाल भट्ट दास रघुनाथा
श्री जीव गोपाल भट्ट दास रघुनाथा
हरिहराय नमः कृष्ण यादवाय नमः यादवाय माधवाय केशवाय नमः
हरिहराय नमः कृष्ण यादवाय नमः यादवाय माधवाय केशवाय नमः
गोपाल गोविंद राम श्री मधुसूदन गिरिधरि गोपीनाथ मदन मोहन
गोपाल गोविंद राम श्री मधुसूदन गिरिधारी गोपीनाथ मदन मोहन
श्री चैतन्य नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत सीता हरि गुरु वैष्णव भगवत गीता
श्री चैतन्य नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत सीता हरि गुरु वैष्णव भगवत गीता
बोलो श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीवा गोपाल भट्ट दास रघुनाथ
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Again, this is just a reminder that Maharaj is here. He has written a book on defending Prabhupada's words, which is a very significant book in today's generation where everything is questioned. You know, how do we ensure that the authority of the acharyas is preserved and maintained? So Maharaj, he has followed this dharma for more than 50 years. So you can see that he has lived by the book. And every word that Srila Prabhupada has written. So everything that he says here is very significant for us. So we encourage everyone to get a copy personally signed by him and get even a picture with him. So this is a very rare event. So we highly recommend. And then Maharaj is also going to speak about this book very soon. So please take the opportunity. I know some of you are new, but this is also an opportunity to get it personally signed by Maharaj. So once again, thank you. Please take the moment. Thank you.
श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्ट दास रघुनाथ
श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्ट दास रघुनाथ
बोलो श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्ट दास रघुनाथ
श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्ट दास रघुनाथ
हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 बोलो बोलो
कृष्णा
कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे बोलो बोलो
हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा
कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 बोलो बोलो
हरे कृष्णा हरे हरे
हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम
कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
Hare Krishna. Once again, I just want to read the introduction and the backdrop for this book. This is His Holiness Harivilas Maharaj has written a book on defending Prabhupada's words. Disciples, both Siksha and Diksha. So there are two types of disciples that have taken instruction directly or indirectly from His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, as well as those that have taken direct Diksha from A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Honor him every day by singing prayers to the spiritual master. We recite the prayers, Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chittete Kariya Aikya. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from the lips of my spiritual master. So that's the meaning of that particular mantra that we recite, that verse. There has never been an assumption that some of the words from the lips of the spiritual master are purifying and some are not. So this is the fundamental topic that Maharaj has written about, that every word that comes from our spiritual master, either Siksha or Diksha Guru, is a pure, purifying word. And it's not like we can pick and choose. So it's not like some are transcendental and some are mundane. Some can be accepted and some should be ignored. So this assumption is being voiced, in general, across the world, but even maybe within the organization. So His Holiness Harivilas Maharaj takes up on this discussion why such abomination is being attempted and how to see through such sophistry. Sophistry means a clever use of words to get a different point across, to defend the words of his spiritual master, again, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. So, again, Maharaj is here, he is signing the book. You get an opportunity to get a picture as well. So, if you have not already taken, highly recommend. And Maharaj will be speaking on this book also very soon. Hare Krishna.
गोविंद बोलो हरि गोपाल बोलो,
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 राधा रमन हरि गोविंद बोलो,
राधा रमण हरि गोविंद बोलो,
राधा रमन हरि गोविंद बोलो,
राधा रमण हरि गोविंद बोलो,
गोविंद बोलो गोपाल बोलो,
गोविंद बोलो गोपाल बोलो,
गोविंद बोलो हरि 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 गोपाल बोलो,
ओ गोविंद बोलो हरि गोपाल बोलो,
गोविंद बोलो हरि गोपाल बोलो,
राधा रमन हरि गोविंद बोलो,
राधा रमण हरि गोविंद बोलो,
ओ राधा रमन हरि गोविंद बोलो,
राधा रमण हरि गोविंद बोलो,
कृष्णा कृष्णा बोलो राधे राधे बोलो,
कृष्णा कृष्णा बोलो राधे राधे बोलो,
ओ राधे राधे बोलो कृष्णा कृष्णा बोलो,
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 कृष्णा कृष्णा बोलो राधे राधे बोलो,
कृष्णा कृष्णा बोलो राधे राधे बोलो,
ओ कृष्णा कृष्णा बोलो राधे राधे बोलो,
कृष्णा कृष्णा बोलो राधे राधे बोलो,
बोलो राधा रमन हरि गोविंद बोलो,
राधा रमण हरि गोविंद बोलो,
बोलो राधा रमन हरि गोविंद बोलो,
राधा रमण हरि गोविंद बोलो,
गोविंद बोलो हरि गोपाल बोलो,
गोविंद बोलो हरि गोपाल बोलो,
ओ राधा रमन हरि गोविंद बोलो,
राधा रमण हरि गोविंद बोलो,
गोविंद बोलो हरि गोपाल 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 बोलो,
बोलो गोविंद बोलो हरि गोपाल बोलो,
गोविंद बोलो हरि गोपाल बोलो,
ओ राधा रमन हरि गोविंद बोलो,
राधा रमण हरि गोविंद बोलो,
ओ राधा रमन हरि गोविंद बोलो,
राधा रमण हरि गोविंद बोलो,
राधा रमन हरि गोविंद बोलो,
राधा रमण हरि गोविंद बोलो,
बोलो राधा रमन हरि गोविंद बोलो,
राधा रमण हरि गोविंद बोलो,
ओ राधा रमन हरि गोविंद बोलो,
राधा रमण हरि गोविंद बोलो,
ओ गोविंद बोलो हरि गोपाल बोलो,
गोविंद बोलो हरि गोपाल बोलो,
ओ राधा रमन हरि गोविंद बोलो,
राधा रमण हरि गोविंद बोलो,
बोलो कृष्णा कृष्णा बोलो राधे राधे बोलो,
कृष्णा कृष्णा बोलो राधे राधे बोलो,
ओ राधे राधे बोलो कृष्णा कृष्णा बोलो,
राधे राधे बोलो कृष्णा कृष्णा बोलो,
ओ राधे राधे बोलो कृष्णा कृष्णा बोलो,
राधे राधे बोलो कृष्णा कृष्णा बोलो,
बोलो कृष्णा कृष्णा बोलो राधे राधे बोलो,
कृष्णा कृष्णा बोलो राधे राधे बोलो,
ओ राधे राधे बोलो कृष्णा कृष्णा बोलो,
राधे राधे बोलो Krishna
ओ
bolo.
कृष्णा कृष्णा बोलो राधे राधे बोलो
Krishna Krishna bolo. Radhe Radhe
ओ
bolo.
कृष्णा कृष्णा बोलो राधे राधे बोलो
Krishna Krishna bolo. Radhe Radhe bolo.
राधा रमन हरि गोविंद बोलो
Radha Ramana Hari Govinda bolo.
बोलो राधा रमन हरि गोविंद बोलो
Radha Ramana Hari Govinda bolo.
कृष्णा 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 हे कृष्णा
Krishna 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 Hai.
कृष्णा 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 हे
Krishna 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 Hai.
राम राघव राम राघव राम राघव रक्षमा
Ram Raghav Ram Raghav Ram Raghav Rakshama.
राम राघव राम राघव राम राघव रक्षमा
Ram Raghav Ram Raghav Ram Raghav Rakshama.
कृष्णा 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 है
Krishna 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 Hai.
कृष्णा 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 पाहि माम
Krishna 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 Pahi Ma.
राम राघव राम राघव राम राघव रक्षमा
Ram Raghav Ram Raghav Ram Raghav Rakshama.
बोलो राम राघव राम राघव राम राघव रक्षमा
Ram Raghav Ram Raghav Ram Raghav Rakshama.
बोलो राम राघव राम राघव राम राघव रक्षमा
Ram Raghav Ram Raghav Ram Raghav Rakshama.
बोलो राम राघव राम राघव राम राघव रक्षमा
Ram Raghav Ram Raghav Ram Raghav Rakshama.
बोलो गोविंद बोलो हरि गोपाल बोलो
Govinda bolo Hari Gopal
ओ
bolo.
राधा रमन हरि गोविंद बोलो
Radha Ramana Hari Govinda bolo.
ओ गोविंद बोलो हरि गोपाल बोलो
Govinda bolo Hari Gopal bolo.
गोविंद बोलो हरि गोपाल बोलो
Govinda bolo Hari Gopal bolo.
ओ गोविंद बोलो हरि गोपाल बोलो
Govinda bolo Hari Gopal bolo.
गोविंद 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 बोलो हरि गोपाल बोलो
Govinda bolo Hari Gopal bolo.
राधा रमन हरि गोविंद बोलो
Radha Ramana Hari Govinda bolo.
ओ राधे राधे बोलो कृष्णा कृष्णा बोलो
Radhe Radhe bolo. Krishna Krishna bolo.
ओ राधे राधे बोलो कृष्णा कृष्णा बोलो
Radhe Radhe bolo. Krishna Krishna bolo.
ओ राधे राधे बोलो कृष्णा कृष्णा बोलो
Radhe Radhe bolo. Krishna Krishna bolo.
ओ राधे राधे बोलो कृष्णा कृष्णा बोलो
Radhe Radhe bolo. Krishna Krishna bolo.
दमदन हरि गोविंद बोलो
Radha
राधा
Ramana Hari
गोविंद
Govinda
बोलो
bolo.
राधा रमन हरि गोविंद बोलो 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 राधे किशोरी दया करो
दे किशोरी दया करो.
राधे किशोरी दया करो
राधे किशोरी दया करो.
श्यामा लाडली दया करो
श्यामा लाडली दया करो.
श्यामा लाडली दया करो
लाडली दया करो.
Hare Krishna. Again, Maharaj is signing the new book that he just authored, Defending Prabhupada's Words. So on the cover of this book, there is a quote directly from His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta from Srila Prabhupada. All our books, they are not mental speculation. Whatever I have learned from my Guru Maharaja, I am presenting. That's all. So whatever little success I have got, it is due to this process that I do not present anything which is created by me. That is the secret of success. Remain always a servant of your spiritual master and present the thing as you have heard from him. You will be spiritual master. That is the secret. So this is spoken by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. He's the founder Acharya of ISKCON. During Sri Vyasa Puja lecture, this is in August 22, 1973. So this is the foundation for why this book is very significant. So once again, if you have not already gotten a copy, please take it at the front desk there. There is a copy of the book you can collect, and then Maharaj will sign it. You can also get a picture taken. So this is a once in a lifetime rare opportunity, so I highly recommend that you take this moment to do this. So once again, Maharaj will be speaking about the book also, so that way you have the book in your hands when Maharaj is sharing about some of the insights from this book. So thank you once again.
राधे किशोरी दया करो,
राधे किशोरी दया करो,
श्यामा लाडली दया करो,
श्यामा लाडली दया करो,
दया करो राधे दया करो,
दया करो राधे दया करो,
दया करो श्याम दया करो,
दया करो श्याम दया करो,
राधे किशोरी दया करो,
राधे किशोरी दया करो,
हमसे दीन न कोई जग में, हमसे दीन न कोई जग में, बांधया की तनक धरो, बांधया की तनक धरो, बांधया की तनक धरो, राधे किशोरी दया करो, श्यामा लाडली दया करो, राधे किशोरी दया करो,
श्यामा लाडले दया करो,
दया करो राधे दया करो,
दया करो राधे दया करो,
दया करो श्याम दया करो,
दया करो श्याम दया करो,
राधे किशोरी दया करो, श्यामा लाडली दया करो,
राधे किशोरी दया करो, श्यामा लाडले दया करो,
हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा
कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे,
हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, निताय गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल, निताय गौरा हरि बोल, निताय गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल, निताय गौरा हरि बोल, जय जय प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद, जय जय प्रभुपाद,
जय जय प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद, जय जय प्रभुपाद,
जय जय गुरुदेव गुरुदेव गुरुदेव, जय जय गुरुदेव,
जय जय गुरुदेव गुरुदेव गुरुदेव, जय जय गुरुदेव,
बोल प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल,
Hare Krishna. So again, Maharaj is here to launch his first published book by Tulsi Books. This book is Defending Prabhupada's Words. For those of you who come to the temple, I'm sure all of you have had some experience of being in contact with His Holiness Harivilas Maharaj. But it's also probably important that we hear about the significance of this book and the context of Maharaj's his own journey. So I'm going to read a little bit about the profile of His Holiness Harivilas Maharaj or Guru Maharaj. It's an honor and privilege to have this opportunity to share about Maharaj. Harivilas Maharaj joined ISKCON in 1969 and was initiated the following year by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. He set up, as soon as he started, this is the significance, Maharaj was initially, he was only 22, if I'm not mistaken. At that time, the very next year, he was asked to set up the first temple in Paris the same year and was appointed the temple president. Prabhupada visited Paris for the first time in 1971 and returned 6 times. Sensing a need for Sattvic products in USA, Harivilas Maharaj started the Spiritual Sky. It's a company that focuses on the Sattvic products in Paris in 1971. It bloomed into a very big business by 1976 with 2 factories, one in France, the other in England, with offices in France, England, Holland, to enable distribution of the products all over Europe. This business helped him to fund many projects, the first being the sponsoring of the French Yatra from 2003 to 2007. Harivilas Maharaj has realized the importance of books in Prabhupada's mission and donated generously to print Srila Prabhupada's books in foreign languages in order to spread Krishna consciousness across the world. So Maharaj, even though he was also running a business, he was dovetailing every bit of his efforts with the proceeds coming from the business directly to spreading the Krishna conscious movement. His generosity resulted in translation and printing of the books in many languages like Bengali, Oriya, Japanese, Swahili, Urdu, Turkish, Arabic, Armenian, and Farsi. Harivilas Maharaj, with his keen grasp on philosophy and working of ISKCON, was nominated as a board member of the GBC in 1987 and was also a BBT trustee. So that is the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust. In 1987, he moved to Berkeley to take on the role of temple president and became GBC for California, Oregon, Washington State, Western Canada, Alaska, and many countries in the Middle East and parts of India. He is truly a global leader. His timely efforts saved the Berkeley Temple from the foreclosure and dissolution and rebuilt the temple and community to attract new American devotees from 1987 to 1991. In 1991, he moved again to rejuvenate the Seattle temple. He was invited by temples in Vancouver, Phoenix, and Hawaii to help resolve their financial and administrative difficulties, which he did till 2016. So Maharaj was always called in whenever there is a struggle in any temple, and Maharaj successfully did it, where he recovered every temple from the struggles, financial struggles, into booming temples. And obviously we have seen in Seattle firsthand how this temple in 1981, when Maharaj came, it was just a small house. And the deities weren't even cared for, as well as, the prasadam, everything was, just maintaining the temple was a struggle. But we see today, we have just last couple of weeks ago, or 1 week ago, there was the largest holy festival in the entire Northwest with close to 20,000 people that have attended. So this just speaks volumes about Maharaj's efforts as a leader, but also while protecting the spiritual principles. So with a lot of zeal, Harivilas Maharaj organized the first Anand Mela festival in 2008. So the Anand Mela festival, which is typically the last weekend of July every year. I'm sure every one of you have probably attended. Shri Shri Radha Nil Madhav ki jai. So Anand Mela, in the recent years, it probably attracts in the 25,000 plus audience over 2 years. So it went on to become the largest festival in the Indian culture in the Pacific Northwest, attracting over 20,000 plus people. The festival celebrated in the 14th anniversary in the last year, that was July 2022. He also inaugurated many such festivals. We obviously witnessed Holi just recently, and vegan and vegetarian raw food festival, Jagannath Rath Yatra, Namaste India Festival, Diwali Lights of India, which happens in Seattle. So every year, at least 6 to 8 major temple festivals, but also almost every day is a festival at this temple. So wanting to do a bit for the future generation, he channeled his energies to open even a daycare center in 2009. The same year, he was instrumental in the opening of the temple in Portland, Oregon. Never resting on his achievements, he opened a full-time accredited school in Seattle from preschool to 6th grade. The school began in 2010. In 2013, the school moved from the temple to a newly purchased building in Issaquah. In 2018, thanks to his efforts, a vibrant community of devotees had come alive in Seattle with more than 130 initiated devotees and over 500 families that regularly visit the temple. Continuing Prabhupada's legacy of farming and cow protection, he developed a farm and dairy in Redmond, Washington. The farm grows fresh vegetables and distributes Ahimsa A2 milk. So this means the cows are protected for life, and the milk is the first-class milk, organically produced. Buoyed by the response, he purchased another 20,000 square foot building in Bellevue, Washington, for a second temple in 2013. Soon, he had 50-acre farm in Arlington, Washington, a sanctuary for cows that are no longer milking and for abandoned bulls. So this is where the cows get protected and cared for throughout their life. And they're protected until they die a natural death. Harivilas Maharaj also runs a 42-acre farm in Whatcom, which shelters 20 milking cows. In 2017, Maharaj purchased a new food truck and began distribution of free prasadam in downtown Seattle, bringing the much-needed relief to the homeless people of the area. And we know that this food truck is multiplying, so we now have a third food truck as well. So he organized the first Compassion Festival for the homeless in Westlake Park in downtown Seattle in 2018. During the festival, he presented a comprehensive plan to solve the homeless problem by building a pioneer Vedic village. He continued to purchase 2 more food trucks, now we have 3, to increase the food distribution to Seattle. He's also a writer, penning 15 books on Krishna conscious philosophy. In 2018, he retired from the GBC to become a GBC emeritus. At present, he is an initiating ISKCON guru. So I would like to request His Holiness Harivilas Maharaj to say a few words and talk about the book.
Just 1 second. Let me just sign this too. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. I feel very humbled by your presence. Did I write this booklet? And by the way, I don't like to write big books. I like to write short books so people can read things. We have to protect the integrity of the parampara. And when people make criticisms, that's fine. People can criticize things, it's okay. But if they're wrongly made, that has to be corrected. So a person like Srila Prabhupada is very dedicated to repeating the original words of Krishna and the acharyas in the disciplic succession. You cannot be a guru, a bona fide guru, if you change even one word of Krishna's original words, which are in Bhagavad Gita, or the repetition of those same words by the acharyas in the acharya parampara. That's the qualification for being a guru. You can't make things up. You can't give so-called enlightened speculations about spiritual life. The words have to be the original words spoken by Bhagavan Krishna and repeated by the Guru Parampara. Then, if you repeat the same words without adding or subtracting anything, you become bona fide guru. There are many unbona fide gurus in the world today, or people masquerading as gurus, but genuine gurus will not deviate from the original words of Bhagavan Krishna and the acharyas. So, in recent times, some people have began to criticize what Prabhupada wrote, saying that, well, he was born in the 19th century and he influenced by 19th century concepts of women, of also homosexuals and things like that, and because of that he wrote things of his own opinion in his books. Now, that is a frontal attack on the integrity of Guru. So, but there has to be evidence that shows that he didn't do that. Because if he did do something like that, he would be deviating from the acharyas himself. So, therefore, I took all of the so-called questionable statements that Prabhupada made in his books about homophobia and misogyny. Homophobia means questions about homosexuals, and misogyny means words that are demeaning to women. And I showed the Shastric evidence that he simply repeated things that were spoken originally by either Krishna or Krishna's incarnations, such as Kapila Muni, or other, let's say, bona fide gurus in the parampara. He didn't make anything up. He didn't give a personal opinion. And he says that himself. He says, all our books, meaning his books, they are not mental speculation. Whatever I have learned from my Guru Maharaj, I am presenting that. That's all. So whatever little success I have got, it is due to this process that I do not present anything which is created by me. That is the secret of success. Remain always a servant of your spiritual master and present the thing as you have heard from him. You will be spiritual master also. This is the secret. And this is a Vyasa Puja lecture he gave in London, August 22nd, 1973. Then again, on the back of a book, you'll see another quote which says, disciples both Shiksha and Diksha of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, honor him every day by singing prayers to the spiritual master. We recite the following prayer: Guru Mukha Padma Vaikya, Chitete Karya Aikya. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from the lips of my spiritual master. Now, if there are words emanating from the lips of the spiritual master that are not bona fide, then how can the disciple become purified? You see? So if you question the word, and people can question, there's no problem. They can always question whatever they want. But someone has to give the answers, whether their questioning is correct or incorrect. So that's what I did. I showed that Prabhupada never gave his own opinion about anything. He simply repeated what was in the Shastra. So that's called Shastra Chakshus, to see through the Shastra, not to make things up, not to give personal opinions. For example, if you go to see someone and you say, you know, I'm having heart palpitations, what do you think? Say, well, my opinion is that don't worry about it. Well, that's an opinion. That's not science, right? So then you go to the doctor and he does the MRI and it does this and it does that. And he said, you got a heart problem and we'll have to treat it. So you don't want opinions, especially when it comes to spiritual life. You want facts. And what are those facts? They're the facts as spoken originally by Krishna himself, who's the original guru, who's the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, source of everything. And we have his words. It's called Bhagavad Gita. And then we have the words also of great acharyas, like the four Kumaras, like Narada Muni, like Vyasadeva, and so many other great saints in the Vedic parampara, coming from originally from Krishna and Brahma. That's called the Brahma Sampradaya. So, and that's given in Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam are pure devotees speaking about Krishna, and Bhagavad Gita is Krishna speaking about himself. So nothing can be better than those two books, which are authentic. So, and correct. Therefore, when people started questioning Prabhupada's statements about women, about homosexuals, about this, about that, so I took the major, let's call most difficult statements, and gave the evidence that he simply repeated what was in the Shastra. And I give the Shastric evidences that you can read. And at the end, there's an addendum where I explain additional information, especially Prabhupada's position, or Prabhupada's way of understanding women. And there are many great examples here of uniquely, highly elevated women in Vedic history. And there's no question of any demeaning statement by Srila Prabhupada. He glorifies them and gives their histories. So all that is in this little booklet. And if you read it, take the time to read it. It's not a big, long book. I don't use a lot of flowery language. It's just simple English. Some of the quotes in the beginning of the book by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who wrote things in the 19th century, his language is a little bit more formal, but the rest of the book is very simple English. So that's why I wanted to write this book as the first published book. I have many other books that I've written. The next book is going to be about the fatal flaws of modern Hinduism, which is a very serious subject. And it will be an eye-opener. And also I give recommendations of how the flaws that have entered into modern Hinduism can be corrected. And because of that, there'll be a possibility of stopping the disastrous amount of people leaving Hinduism and joining Christianity and Islam or Buddhism. So these are all important topics that need to be addressed once and for all, so that there is not a collapse of Sanatana Dharma in India. You know. And by the way, I highly recommend don't use the word India and don't use the word Hindu. Hindu is mispronunciation by the Muslims of Sind. They couldn't say S, so they said H. And it ended up being Hindu, and anything on the other side of the Sind River are Hindus. But the real name of India is Bharat, or Bharatiyas, and the name of the people are Bharatiyas. Okay? And then secondly, India. India is named by the British of people that they have conquered, whether it's West Indians or West Indian or East Indian. That's the name of conquered people given by the British. The real name of so-called India is Bharat, and the real name of the religion of Bharat is Sanatana Dharma. So these words have to be brought back, because otherwise you're being defined by people who conquered you. The word India is a word that means that it's a conquered people. And Hindu is a word that has no meaning at all as far as Sanskrit goes. It's not a Sanskrit word. It's a mispronunciation by the Muslims. So as long as you use those words, you're still under the definition of the Muslims and the British. And both of them invaded India to destroy the Sanatana Dharma. So we have to go back to the roots of the history of Bharat and of Sanatana Dharma to redefine yourselves, not to be defined by the outside people who want to destroy your culture. Okay? So these are some of the things that I'll be talking about in the future. Are there any questions anyone would like to ask? Is Sanatana Dharma still in Vaikuntha Loka? You mean in the spiritual world? Of course. Of course. Why not?
It transcends across all dimensions.
Well, what is Sanatana Dharma? Dharma means occupational duty. Sanatana means eternal. So you have two types of dharmas. The mundane dharma is what you're doing today. You're working, you're waking up early, you have to go to the job, you have to earn money, you have to work honestly, you have to pay your taxes. That is occupational duty. You have to take care of your family, and you have to take care of your relatives and so forth. So that is occupational duty. Sanatana Dharma is your eternal occupational duty, and that is to develop love and devotion for Krishna. And by doing that, you attain eternal life in the spiritual world, and you can help many others, at least 21 generations of your family, also to be liberated and go back to the spiritual world, where you no longer have a material body that's subject to birth, death, old age, and disease. Now you have your spiritual body. You see? It's the solution to all problems of life. And that was Vedic culture. It helped everyone, whether they were Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Sudra, to attain liberation from the cycle of birth and death by cooperating with each other. See? Now, there's nothing wrong with being a Sudra in the Varnashram system. The Sudras, like I'm a Sudra, right? I work, right? And I work sometimes like a Vaishya, sometimes I work like a Sudra, and sometimes I have to be like a Kshatriya, making decisions for the temple, right? And sometimes I'm acting as a Brahmana. So when you come to the higher Swadharma, your higher Dharma, then you can assume any position, whether it's Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Sudra, and there's nothing wrong with it. And you have to be practical. You have to be able to function in an effective way to maintain Sanatana Dharma, you see. Now, the lower Dharma is what most people understand. You're taking care of your family, you're working honestly, etc., etc. But the higher Dharma means that you're preparing yourself and many other people that are dependent on you to go back to the spiritual world and have eternal life. That's the most important purpose of life. The human form of life is specifically meant for self-realization. Now, what does that mean, self-realization? Understanding yourself in relationship to God. That is the real meaning of self-realization. So that's a great subject. It's explained in depth in the Bhagavad Gita. Therefore, this one book, Bhagavad Gita, is enough to liberate you from the cycle of birth and death. If you hear it, not read it. You can read it 10 times and still you'll forget most of everything you read. You have to hear it from bona fide devotees. And you have a chance to ask questions when you're hearing it. And through those daily discussions, see, just like every day, we have to have a balance. If you're working 10 hours a day, at least 3 or 4 hours, you should hear about Krishna and be engaged in Krishna's service. So you have a balanced life. If you're only working and just thinking about making money all day long and getting frustrated and getting into arguments and things like that, that's not a life. You're wasting your life. You have to have that balance between spiritual life and material life, right? And then eventually, you're going to give up material life. After your kids are grown and you're married, you and your wife are going to give up material life and both together make tangible spiritual advancement to go back to Godhead. See? And now, see, the problem is people don't believe that there's life after death. They don't believe there's a spiritual world. They don't really think that they can attain love for God and be liberated from the cycle of birth and death. That this is the very, very serious problem about modern education. It rejects all those ideas that there's life after death, that there's eternal life in the spiritual world, that it's possible to be liberated from the cycle of birth and death. So we have to go back to the original culture of Bharat, which is called Sanatan Dharma, the eternal occupational duty that will sustain you eternally in the spiritual world. So these are just some, summary ideas that we must reestablish, and it's done by Shravanam Kirtanam, hearing bona fide devotees speaking and repeating what they have said. So that's the way you learn. Just like, how does a child learn to speak the language of the family? They don't go to school from 1 to 5. They don't know how to read and write. They simply repeat what their parents say, and eventually they learn the language. It can be Chinese, it can be Sanskrit, it can be English. Whatever language that their family speaks, they learn in 5 years. So in the same way, we learn by hearing, Shravanam, and repeating, Kirtanam. That's the way you learn something. So that is the original way of the Sanskriti tikis, the Sanskrit schools. And that's the way they teach in the madrasas also. Hearing and repeating on a regular basis every day. So we need to have at least 2 hours a day or 3 hours a day where we can engage in spiritual activity as well as this hearing and repeating. Just like when we have class every morning at 6:30 to 7 o'clock here. We try and keep the class short because people have to go to work. But we hear and repeat during that period, and it's very effective. In fact, hearing and repeating Shastric statements will change your life, and you'll become convinced that you have a possibility to attain immortality in this lifetime, and that you can also have a very peaceful, successful life without working hard. Why was India invaded by the Greeks, by Muhammad Ghazni and the Arabs, and then by the Pathans or the Afghanis, and then by the British? Why didn't they invade Siberia or Russia? Why did they invade India? Because India was the richest country in the world. And it didn't have any industries. It didn't have any IT or AI, right? It didn't have any of those things, but it did have a higher technology. That higher technology is explained in Bhagavad Gita, 3rd chapter, verses 10 to 12. That higher technology was the relationship that the people in Bharat developed with Krishna. And by pleasing Krishna, Krishna ordered the devatas, who are the suppliers of necessities, like Surya is supplying the sun, and Indra is supplying the rain, and Varuna is supplying the currents, etc. So they are order suppliers. So then Krishna orders, if you please Krishna, then he orders the devatas to cooperate with the people. Therefore, life becomes very simple and happy. It rains at night and it's sunny during the day. That means everything grows tremendously, right? And that was the culture. They understood these things in previous time in India. And that's why it was the richest country in the world without technologies, modern technology, without manufacturing things. They didn't have to. The devatas were supplying everything they needed. And people found out about how rich India was, and they started invading the country to steal the assets of the country, you see. But still, they have not been able to destroy Bharat yet. But they're getting really close to it now. Therefore, something serious has to happen to stop it. And that's why Srila Prabhupada, after he succeeded in the United States to make disciples, he brought those disciples back to Bharat to spread Krishna consciousness. And they're spreading it very effectively now. But because India has such a big culture, population, and because India's government, although Modi is there, but Modi is also supporting industrialization, just like Nehru did. Nehru, of course, violated everything Gandhi wanted and went the opposite way and industrialized the country. And that has destroyed much of Vedic Sanatana Dharma because people don't have time anymore. They leave the villages and they come and work in the factories and smoke and drink and engage in all kinds of illicit activities. So previously, everybody lived in self-sufficient villages. They didn't have to import anything. They didn't import anything from China, by the way. Right? They had everything they needed because of this higher technology. The communication between the devotees and Krishna, and then Krishna's ordering the devatas to support the devotees. People lived peacefully, prosperously. No child died before their parents or things like that. There was no misery at that time. And people had 3, 4, sometimes 5 generations living in the same compound. They don't have like one son in England, another son in San Francisco, another son in Japan, one daughter here, one daughter there. They were always together and working together and very happy and peaceful life. And they had plenty of time for spiritual life because everything was easy for them. We have to go back to that original culture, and it's possible. So these are some of the ideas, and all of this is in Bhagavad Gita. This one book. If you never read any other book, you just read Bhagavad Gita with the help of bona fide gurus, Shiksha and Diksha gurus. You have all knowledge. And this is what your kids should learn, Bhagavad Gita. Don't send them to these schools. They're learning all junk stuff. And if you don't believe me, ask your kid what the other kids talk about in school. You'll be surprised. Right? So here's Samarthi goes to school. What do your friends talk about in school? Stand up and tell everybody. Go ahead. Give us the list of all the nonsense. Go ahead. Okay, it's not on.
Like
That microphone is not on. Go ahead. Sports,
video games,
video games,
music.
music,
Yeah, yeah, movies. Sometimes.
movies,
Yeah.
girls and boys.
No other.
Not yet. That's all right. You can tell the truth. Go ahead.
No.
Anything else?
Like tech gadgets.
Yes.
Stuff like that.
Technology. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all they're talking about. Did they talk about God?
No.
You see? So they're not learning anything positive in school. They're learning all negative things. And that's what their consciousness. And you're the parents. You have a different culture. You don't realize what's happening to your kids. See? This is very dangerous. Yeah. Haribol. Thank you very much, Samad. Thank you. Okay, I'll stop right there. It's a big subject, but you get the idea. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, congratulations on publishing the first book. I mean, you have been always been publishing the book, but
Well, this is professional.
yeah,
Not you know.
yeah. So Maharaj, I was just reading few pages. It talks about again. Before asking this question, please forgive my ignorance.
Let's go ahead.
Who is this Brahmadas? I never heard about him in the 14 years.
He's
of
a
my
disciple of Prabhupada who left the movement. You don't have to know him. I give you plenty of information about what he says, so you get an idea. And the VNN is it used to be a web page. You can still see it today, but it's not functioning anymore. It's still on the internet, but it doesn't function anymore. And he published all his nonsense on that web page. Brahmadas was devotee of Srila Prabhupada. He's still alive. And but he left the movement and joined other movements. And he came up with all these criticisms. And a lot of people believed him. Because he's not a dumb person, he's smart. Right? But he was completely wrong. Somebody has to say something, right? We just can't leave those statements without answering them. And that's what I did. You know. But I didn't make an opinion, a personal opinion. I simply repeated what's in the Shastra. So now you have Shastric evidence that Prabhupada did not make anything up. And as his words, as he says right on the front page, he said, I didn't make anything up. I didn't give my personal opinion. Brahma is trying to say that Prabhupada was conditioned by 19th century, let's say, culture, and therefore he made outrageous statements about women and homosexuals. You know. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Thank you. So practically, if you see Sanatan Dharma, I mean, the theoretical way is different, but practically it leads to casteism and division of people, reservation, and
No,
people.
that's wrong. That's not the correct caste system.
I mean, practically that's what happened. Right?
And I've written a book about that also. That is a false caste system. That's the next book will talk at length about the false caste system, because that's one of the fatal flaws of modern Hinduism. I'll give you a quick summary right now. If you go back to the Jabal Upanishad, Jabal Upanishad is about a young boy named Jabal who came to a guru and asked him if he could be his disciple. And the guru said, tell me what your parents are. You know, what is your caste? So he goes home. Now he had a single mother. He didn't have a father. He didn't know who his father was. And he asked his mother, what is our gotra? And she started to cry. And she said, well, I can't tell you because I don't know for sure. I was not leading a good life. In other words, she might have been a prostitute at one time. So he was like shocked. So he goes back to the guru, and he said, Maharaj, he said, I don't know my gotra. My mother doesn't know either. He said, really? He said, yes. He said, okay, I accept you. He said, you accept me? I said, how come? He said, you're Brahmana. You told the truth. That was the real Varnashram system. It was not based on birth. It was based on qualification and work. Now, what happened to it? Because when Kali Yuga began, the Brahmanas who had what you would call the exclusivity of Sanskrit learning, they changed one word of the Shastra. So if you look at the 4th chapter, I think it's the 13th verse, Chaturvanyam maya sristam gunakarma vibhagasaha. It says, Krishna says, and in the beginning of time, I established the four varnas, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra, and the 4 ashramas. That's sannyas and grihasta. Well, actually, it's brahmacharya, grihasta, vanaprastha, and sannyas. So he established the varnas and the ashramas, right? So the brahmanas, in order to have their children hereditarily accepted as brahmanas, they changed one word. So instead of saying Chaturvanya Mayasristam Guna Karma Vibhagasaha, they said Janma Karma Vibhagasaha. And they changed that word purposely. And now it created this false Varna system where it's based on birth and not qualification. So this has been terrible for Hinduism. Many people have suffered because of this. And it's still going on today. Even after years and years of people leaving Hinduism and being forced or voluntarily becoming Muslims or Buddhists or Christians, they're still doing the same thing. And the whole thing is false. It's a false, they changed one word, but that's how devastating it is to change even one word of the Shastra, you see. So that's the genesis of this false Varnashram system. And we don't, in Krishna consciousness, we don't accept it. In Sikhism, they don't accept it. There were many breakaways from Hinduism that don't accept this false caste system. But it's still being practiced, see? And it has to stop. Otherwise, it's going to ruin the whole religion. Now, it's not only that. There are many other things that are being wrongly followed in Hinduism. But this is the major thing, this false caste system. Right? Okay. Does that answer your question?
That's why people leaving.
Yeah, of course. Yes, sir. Oh, we got all night long, don't worry. This is...
This question is a little bigger than just this dharma that you're talking about. I mean, I've been wanting to ask this for many years that I've been coming here, but I don't know if this audience. This is basically about humans as such, overall, whether you're in Krishna conscious, whether you're Muslim, whether you're Sikh, whether you follow Jesus, anybody. Ultimately, humans are humans. I mean, in a sense, people take birth here and people die. We are all equal. Who knows what were you before you took birth? After we die, everybody is going to be equal. The only differentiation is you are born to a Muslim family, so you're a Muslim. You are born to a Hindu family, so you're a Hindu. You are born, and I mean, in that sense, I mean, I personally follow everything. I mean, by birth, I might call myself Hindu, but right from birth, I've been saying, I don't have any problem in saying Allah Akbar, Waheguru, by the name of the Holy Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. I follow everything, and I don't find it bad that I'm sitting here in front of Krishna and I'm saying, Jesus, I love you, Allah Akbar, I love you, Waheguru, anything. So we in Hinduism we are talking about okay, there's a false caste system, there's a right system, that might be there's some way, but looking overall, why is Hinduism the right thing, not other thing?
Why
And
is
we-
what?
Why is Hinduism the right dharam, not other dharam?
No, but the Hinduism is not the right dharma.
Okay.
It's Sanatan Dharma.
Okay. Even in that sense, Sanatan Dharma. If I was born to a Muslim family and I've followed whatever their teaching is, how does it make me inferior than somebody who's followed Sanatan
No,
Dharma?
we didn't say we didn't say the Muslims are inferior. In many ways, they're superior to the Hindus because they pray 5 times a day. So,
Just
but the question is, there's 2 purposes in spiritual life. One is to know God, and 2 is to love God. It doesn't matter what religion you have. If that religion teaches you to know God correctly and to love God, that religion is bona fide. And you will attain the same, let's say, goal, liberation from the cycle of birth and death, and going to the spiritual world. So, are the Christians or are the Muslims teaching real knowledge of God and how to love God? To a degree they are, but both have flaws in them, as much as the Hindus have many flaws also. Now that's what I'm going to be writing about in the next book. So you can understand why people end up confused about religion. Because when you're not following all the rules, like for example, clearly it says in the Bible, thou shalt not kill. But because the Christians want to eat meat, they've changed the word. And they say, no, thou shalt not commit murder, which means human beings only. You see. So thou shalt not kill, that means you don't kill anything. Thou shalt not murder means you're only going to kill you can't kill human beings. But everything else, like animals, you can kill them and eat them, you see? So by changing things like that, it creates deviation.
that's true. One more thing. I got initiated in ISKCON at Mayapur. In fact, my cousin is in ISKCON for entire life, and I started. And I've had this discussion. Even maybe I can table this with you. You have a very good point. The way people perceive, people rationalize their decisions. Why people want to eat meat? They say meat is basically protein, and they're eating protein. And people who don't eat meat will say you're killing a person, you're killing a living being. And then people justify saying that it's human beings who have life. All the animals here are in earth.
What counts is, what does God say? We are trying to order or, let's say, plan our life according to God's plan. So God says the following. You see that second panel there? It says, negative effects of the 4 self-destructive habits. And it's intoxication, and it's what you would call illicit relationships or sex addiction, meat eating, and gambling. Those 5,000 years ago, Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita, don't do these things. Today it's part of the culture, whether it's India or Islam or the United States, that's part of the culture. Because of that, every year millions of people die because of overdosing on drugs, because of sexual addictions and getting STDs or sexually transmitted diseases, because of meat eating and getting cancer, and also heart attacks and other diseases, or gambling. They commit suicide or they become thieves. You see, it's ruining the culture. So if you give those four things up, as Krishna recommended 5,000 years ago, then people would come to the level of sattva guna. In sattva guna, a person is able to understand spiritual knowledge. In raja guna and tama guna, or tamas, you can't understand anything about spirituality. You will understand zero. You have to come to the sattva guna level to begin to understand spiritual knowledge, right? And that is not difficult if you give up those four things. But those four things have become part of the culture of India, the United States, and many countries in the world, you see. So that's where you should start. You should give up those four things: illicit sex, gambling, meat eating, and intoxication. Right? Then you're going to start to make progress spiritually. And it's not a bad thing. Anyone who gives up those things becomes healthy. And anyone who engages those things becomes sick and mean. So it's not a hard thing to convince people if they have a little bit of self-control.
I agree. I'll let the audience, I'll let the thing open to everybody because I have lots of other questions I can ask later.
Sure.
So, because it's already about 9:20, Maharaj has to take rest. But I know these questions are perfect questions with perfect answers. But one of the things that Maharaj does is every morning, as he already mentioned, every morning from 6:30 to about 7:15, there is a daily Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita class where, he takes one verse, goes in depth. There is actual question and answer discussion. So I highly recommend anybody, if you cannot come in person, definitely online also it is available.
You don't have to come on time either, because it's recorded. It's recorded. Every class is recorded.
Some of us who attend in person definitely have seen significant benefit of coming in person because your attention goes up. So you're absorbing everything that Maharaj is delivering. I mean, this is transcendental knowledge. So this is not, again, just like Maharaj said, like Prabhupada did not cook up anything and he delivered. So he's just propagating the parampara message as it is. And that's what Maharaj is also doing every morning. So I highly recommend anybody who has further questions to definitely come in person or online. And then, but once again, I would like to thank His Holiness Harivilas Maharaj for giving us the opportunity to release this book. This is one of the many, many books he's going to write. And we want him to, spread this Krishna consciousness significantly. We have multiple festivals coming up. All these books, we have a book distribution team that should also take the effort to spread this message. So everybody here, as Prabhupada also says, we can all be, passing this message. So once again, let's all raise our hands and then say 3 Hari Bols for Maharaj's first official launch.
You don't have to.
But thank you again, Maharaj,
Hare
for the
Krishna.
opportunity. Hare Krishna. Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hari Bol!
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you very much. And may you all be blessed by Krishna's mercy. Hare Krishna.
So Maharaj, just a few more people that wanted to get signature.
Hari Bol Prabhupada.
Thank you very much, Maharaj.
Jai. Thank you.